Hello everyone, I am Crawlers and this is another episode of Ridiculous Loadout. As you may already know, this is a series I started way back when in the Battlefield 3 days, basically whoring myself out for cheap views, running a suggested loadout from one of you in the comments section. Now, mostly, this is a not so tactical series where most of the loadouts are either troll or bad or just plain ugly looking. Really, I get a chance to try out a kit, a combination that I haven't thought of before, and maybe have good results with it. Mostly not though. So, today a suggestion comes from Frosty RIP, which I picked out, well, because I liked it. It's called the SWAT class in celebration of Hardline. There were other cool suggestions this time, but I chose this one as we could use a few themed loadouts, and since Hardline looks very much like a Battlefield 4 DLC, this is what we're gonna do this time. So, support class G36C, laser sight, heavy barrel, deagle, ballistic shield, ammo pack, flashy bangs, and defense field upgrade. Sounds very cool, doesn't it? So the G36C is an assault rifle no self-respecting FPS game can do without. I'm sure most, if not all, FPS games since the mid-90s had it included, and Battlefield 4 is no different. In real life, this is a German-manufactured assault rifle made by Heckler and Koch, and it has quite a few variants, including the awesome badass machine gun with the freaking cool 100-round C-Mac drum magazine that you probably remember from playing Battlefield 3. The G36 itself is kind of a successor to the G3 assault rifle, which you may also remember from Battlefield 3 and several other FPS games, and it was a pretty badass assault rifle in its own right. Except we didn't get it in Battlefield 4, of course, which would have been nice, of course, but people probably want the AN-94 even more over any other gun. Well, no matter, the G36C is still freaking cool. In Battlefield 4, though, its stats are somewhat similar to Battlefield 3, where it was only confined to the engineer class. But since in Battlefield 4 the G36C is considered a carbine, it's available to all classes, and to balance the idea that it's available to all classes and is a jack of all trades, basically, DICE nerfed it, all the carbines actually, across the board somewhat. So, a bad decision in my opinion, as in Battlefield 4 PDWs are engineer-specific weapons, unlike Battlefield 3 where they were carbines, as I said. It won't take a rocket scientist to see the engineers will choose carbines over short-range PDWs though, so definitely a bad move. But going back to the G36C stats in Battlefield 4, we see that it does a standard for a 5.56 carbine maximum damage of 24 at 8 meters, which drops off to 15.4 at 50 meters. This was actually tweaked only slightly from the days of Battlefield 3, and essentially the G36C seems to be one of the weapons that had their maximum damage of 25 nerfed by 1, as DICE was trying to compensate for the better netcode and easier to aim weapons with the new visual recoil system. Their words, not mine. It still has a magazine of 30 rounds of lead, which fires at a rate of 650 rounds per minute, which is a surprising nerf actually by DICE since the Battlefield 3 days, where it went through its ammo at a rate of 750 rounds per minute, which is actually what it is supposed to do in real life. And with a muzzle velocity of 550 meters a second, which is only slightly better than its Battlefield 3 counterpart, and actually a buff from the 930 patch, a small buff, but it's still definitely a problem. You can see that this rate of fire is relatively slow for such an assault rifle slash carbine. So the G36C becomes a pretty low damaging carbine in Battlefield 4 as far as these two stats go, and you just gotta wonder what the hell DICE was thinking here, nerfing it into the Stone Age more or less. Good iron sights though, so I guess I got that going for me, which is nice. Its magazine of a standard 30 rounds, as I said, reloads in 2.1 seconds for the short reload, which is a bit slower than it was in Battlefield 3, and 2.85 seconds for the long reload, which technically isn't bad, but of course there are faster reloading weapons out there, specifically the carbine, in the carbine section, the Uber AK-5C, which reloads in a brisk 1.85 seconds for the short reload. And adding to that the best muzzle, that it has the best muzzle velocity of any carbine and a pretty good rate of fire as well, it becomes pretty much a top gun in any class, and you know, the easiest one to use. Now, DICE has also buffed and nerfed the G36C a couple of times over the life cycle of Battlefield 4, seemingly not able to choose a good spot for the balancing of this carbine. Its upwards recoil was increased a little on the last patch, as far as I know, to 0.33 degrees per shot, which is weird since it wasn't an OP weapon to begin with. And now its vertical recoil is one of the higher end of the rest of the carbines. So also its first shot multiplier was increased to 1.7. Thankfully its side-to-side recoil is even at 0.1 left and right, so it shouldn't pull more to one side than the other. So the G36C carbine was never an uber weapon to begin with. In fact, most players kind of got to scratching their heads on this one, wondering why DICE would nerf the rate of fire that much in Battlefield 4, you know, to make it even worse. And so much so that a while ago, actually, April 1st to be specific, Level Cap uploaded a video doing a review of the G36C, saying how it received a stealth buff from DICE in the last patch, and no one knew about it because it wasn't advertised, and how it became the new M416 and the Uber gun in Battlefield 4. Well, this was of course an April Fool's joke, and you know, since in Battlefield 4 the G36C was never an OP weapon. And as far as I know, a lot of people actually started believing that video and saying how the G36C became an OP weapon. But I digress. As far as the attachments that I'm running on this time here, there's a bit of well, the stats were slightly tweaked by DICE in the 930 patch, so you know, for the heavy barrel, and unfortunately Simtic doesn't provide the stats for the laser on its site, doesn't calculate the stats, so I had to do some math here to calculate them exactly. And I'm not saying that this is right by any means, because I'm sure there's something I didn't understand or take into account, but you know, these are the numbers as I've calculated them according to a formula provided to me on Simtic forums. The heavy barrel does increase the vertical recoil a bit though, as it adds extra weight to the front of the gun, but unlike Battlefield 3, I believe, it doesn't increase the muzzle velocity of the weapon itself, so the damage drop-off stays the same. Good thing, I suppose, because for Battlefield 4, since the silencer attachment doesn't reverse the process, so, you know, moving the damage drop-off closer to the shooter, like it did in Battlefield 3, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong about this. But I think the one positive of this loadout, besides maybe the super duper uber pooper deagle that I actually got a couple of kills with, is the support class, I think, and its bottomless ammo packs of goodness. I mean, this is a gift that keeps on giving, isn't it? You basically never have to worry about running out of ammo with the support class, throwing down enough ammo packs so you could walk from Greenland to Iceland to Scotland without getting your feet wet. That was a Hunt for Red October reference, by the way. The ballistic shield was also a nice touch, as I used it to shield myself in a corner after getting hit, to wait for the health to regenerate with my back against the corner or something like that. And, you know, the shield pulled tightly around me with the right mouse button. Although I think the ballistic shield could be a lot more functional in Battlefield 4, as it stands right now, it's way too vulnerable and not very good for offense. You know, one grenade will take out the glass window, and then it's a straight shot to the player behind it. In fact, a good sniper can do this in 2 shots, you know, one to take out the glass, another for the headshot. So, I think the shield should be maybe made immune to grenades or some such. Maybe extend its bash radius to make it a little more useful. I know people disagreed with me on this the first time I said it, but I think DICE shouldn't have nerfed its one-hit bashing damage potential, as it was getting the right angle for an easy hit for a one-hit kill isn't an easy thing to do, and in my opinion, it wasn't OP at all, as you could be shot while moving and opening yourself up from the shield, and, you know, to bash someone moving the shield. So go ahead, dislike and downvote me if you feel that I, you know, disagree with my ideas. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and now, because I don't feel like suffering alone, Frosty RIP must also run this loadout and upload it to YouTube, and I'll accept the link down below in the comments section. Thanks for watching. Please rate and share this video as it helps my channel grow. Check out my other videos at the end of this one, and remember, in Soviet Russia, YouTube subscribes you.